Imagine if some of the most advanced discoveries we think of as modern, precise astronomy, medicine, even materials science were already known thousands of years ago, and somehow forgotten. Ancient civilizations weren't just stacking stones and inventing writing. They were decoding the universe. And the more we uncover, the clearer it becomes. They knew things we are only just beginning to rediscover. Let's start with the stars. Picture ancient Babylon, where priests would climb ziggurats, massive step towers, and watch the night sky, tracking planets for generations. They didn't have telescopes, but their records allowed them to predict eclipses with uncanny accuracy. They saw the sky as a giant clock, and they learned to read it. The Mayans, half a world away, built entire cities as giant calendars. Their observatories like Alcaracal aligned perfectly with the rising of Venus, and they could predict solar and lunar eclipses centuries in advance. How? By patient observation, by mathematics, and perhaps by a way of thinking about cycles that we've lost in our obsession with linear progress. Then there's the mystery of the pyramids. The Great Pyramid of Giza is aligned to true north with a precision modern engineers can barely replicate without GPS. Its proportions encode the length of the year, the size of the Earth, even the ratio of pi thousands of years before modern science defined them. Was this just coincidence? Or did ancient Egyptians have a far deeper understanding of math and astronomy than we give them credit for? Some researchers argue they must have conducted careful geodetic surveys, mapping the land with a sophistication we only rediscovered recently. Mathematics wasn't just a tool. It was a language of the divine. The Sumerians used a base 60 system that still shapes how we measure time: 60 seconds in a minute, 360 degrees in a circle. Why base 60? Because it's divisible by so many numbers, a perfect system for astronomy and trade. Indian mathematicians were even more revolutionary. They invented the concept of zero, which is the foundation of all modern computing, centuries before it reached Europe. Without zero, we wouldn't have binary code. And without binary code, no computers, meaning that your phone, your laptop, your entire digital world traces its roots back to ancient Indian scholars. But the most fascinating part is how these ideas were often wrapped in myth and ritual. To the ancient mind, science and spirituality weren't separate. Mapping the stars was an act of worship. Building a temple was a way of aligning with cosmic order. Numbers weren't just quantities, they had meanings, resonances, even personalities. We've stripped science of that mystery, but maybe that sense of connection is why their discoveries still hold power over us today. Even medicine was surprisingly advanced. In Egypt, papyrus scrolls describe brain surgery, dental treatments, and wound care that sound surprisingly modern. Some recipes included honey, which we now know is antibacterial. In India, Ayurvedic texts laid out principles of diet, exercise, and balance that mirror what modern wellness experts are rediscovering. The Chinese map meridians and energy flows in the body, creating acupuncture techniques that Western medicine dismissed for centuries until research started proving they work for pain relief and healing. And then there's engineering. The city of Mohenjo-daro, in the Indus Valley, had running water, sewer systems, and standardized brick sizes around 2500 BC, the level of urban planning some modern cities still struggle to match. The Romans built aqueducts that carried water for miles with perfect gradients, and their concrete was so durable that it actually gets stronger with age, something our concrete still doesn't do. Scientists today are trying to copy their formula to build infrastructure that lasts centuries instead of decades. Everywhere we look, we find traces of knowledge that hint at a different way of understanding the world, one that was patient, deeply observational, and tuned to natural rhythms. It makes you wonder, what else did they know that we haven't rediscovered yet? Some ancient civilizations had a relationship with the natural world that was so precise, it almost feels alien to us today. For example, the Mayans could predict solar and lunar eclipses centuries in advance without satellites, telescopes, or computers. They built observatories aligned with the paths of Venus and Mars, using architecture as a form of astronomical instrument. They recognized patterns in the night sky that we only rediscovered with modern mathematics. The precision of their calendar system still shocks historians. It could measure time with an accuracy that even the Gregorian calendar struggles to match. Meanwhile, in ancient India, scholars were already discussing concepts we think of as modern: atom, gravity, and even the speed of light. Texts like the Rig Veda and the writings of Aryabhata contain startlingly accurate descriptions of astronomical phenomena, planetary orbits, and time cycles lasting billions of years, far beyond the scope of anything the West considered before the telescope. It raises the question, did they develop a way of understanding the universe that we simply abandoned in favor of mechanistic thinking? Ancient Egypt, too, hid its knowledge in plain sight. The Great Pyramid of Giza is not only aligned with true north but also encodes complex mathematical constants like pi and the golden ratio in its dimensions. The placement of the pyramids mirrors the stars in Orion's belt. How could they achieve this level of engineering precision without modern surveying tools or GPS? Were they passing down scientific knowledge through sacred architecture rather than written textbooks? And then there's the ancient Chinese mastery of chemistry and medicine. They discovered gunpowder, seismographs, and magnetic compasses long before Europe even dreamed of them. They developed complex systems of acupuncture that corresponded to nerve pathways in the body we only mapped with modern science. Instead of relying solely on dissection, they seemed to have an intuitive grasp of how energy and matter interact. In the human body, a holistic approach modern medicine is only now beginning to re-examine. What's striking is that much of this knowledge was embedded in ritual, myth, and religion. Instead of separating science from spirituality, ancient cultures often treated them as the same thing. They encoded mathematical formulas into sacred texts, astronomical observations into temple alignments, and chemical knowledge into alchemy and herbal lore. This integration might be why so much of it survived through oral tradition. Even after written records were destroyed by conquest or colonization, modern science prides itself on objectivity. But perhaps in becoming so specialized, we've lost something. Ancient civilizations saw the world as interconnected. Astronomy, agriculture, medicine, and architecture were all part of the same system. Today, we tend to fragment knowledge into separate disciplines. The result is incredible technological progress, but also a sense of disconnection. Maybe the real secret they knew wasn't just about formulas or inventions, it was about balance, cycles, and harmony with the environment. Imagine if we combined our technology with their holistic worldview. Could we find sustainable solutions to energy, climate, and health that we've been missing? Could we rediscover ways to live that make us not just advanced, but wise? These questions aren't just historical curiosities, they might be the key to our future. Take the Antikythera mechanism, pulled from a shipwreck off the coast of Greece, a complex bronze device over 2,000 years old that functioned as an analog computer. It could predict planetary movements, eclipses, and even the timing of Olympic Games with incredible precision. Its gears were so intricate that similar mechanisms wouldn't reappear until the development of European clockwork in the 14th century. If this was just one artifact, how many more have been lost to time, and how advanced were the engineers who made it? Roman concrete is another mystery we've only recently begun to solve. And like modern concrete, which crumbles within decades, Roman harbor structures have stood strong in seawater for over 2,000 years. Scientists have discovered that the Romans used volcanic ash that allowed their concrete to heal itself when cracks formed, meaning it actually became stronger over time. Today, as we search for sustainable building materials, researchers are racing to replicate that lost recipe, proof that sometimes progress means looking backward. Then there's the Baghdad battery, a simple clay jar, copper cylinder, and iron rod that many researchers believe could generate an electric charge. Was it used for electroplating, medical treatments, ritualistic purposes? Whatever the truth, it shows that the idea of harnessing electricity is far older than Benjamin Franklin flying a kite. We also find hints of lost acoustical knowledge. Some ancient temples and chambers are built to amplify sound in ways we still don't fully understand. The hypogeum of Wal Saflieni in Malta, for instance, has a chamber where a deep male voice resonates at exactly 110 Hz, affecting brainwave patterns of those inside. Did ancient architects deliberately design spaces to induce altered states of consciousness, blending architecture, science, and human psychology into a single experience? In the field of medicine, ancient civilizations were shockingly ahead of their time. Trepanation, a drilling of holes into the skull, sounds barbaric, but many patients survived, suggesting it was done with precision and purpose. possibly to relieve pressure or treat neurological conditions. In South America, the Inca developed sophisticated cranial surgery techniques with survival rates better than those of European surgeons during the American Civil War. Even agriculture was more advanced than we think. Indigenous peoples in the Amazon created terra preta, or black earth, a man-made soil that remains fertile for centuries. Modern researchers still struggle to fully replicate it, and understanding how it was made could revolutionize sustainable farming today. Perhaps the most humbling part of all this is how much knowledge was lost or burned in the Library of Alexandria, suppressed by colonizers, or buried under layers of conquest. Imagine what we might know now if just a fraction of that wisdom had survived. The great irony is that we think of ourselves as the most advanced humans in history, yet we are still piecing together clues from people we often dismiss as primitive. The secrets of ancient science aren't just dusty relics of the past, they're reminders that human potential has always been extraordinary. And if we can learn to see their discoveries not as curiosities, but as blueprints, we might build a future that honors the brilliance of those who came before us.